We're back live in the studio.
Yeah, what a day and night.
Yeah, well, it's been another crazy morning trying to get everything working, but we're here, we're live, and we've got some amazing things coming up for you today. We can't wait, we're super excited. We just want to say quickly, thank you so much to everybody that's turning on their videos during the sessions. We've got, we can actually see you all live in the studio. We've got the TV up here. So it really helps us to feel you all, really helps to create the community. So thank you so much to everybody that's helping create that community, helping create that tribe. We love you for that.
We don't say that we don't love your name. Your names are beautiful, but it's much better if you can just see you at the same time as well. So please do that. It makes it more personal for us, and especially for the speakers to connect with you. So what we have next?
Yeah, well, we've got loads of stuff coming up. Also, if you want to ask questions as we go through, just pop them in the chat and we'll ask our speaker at the end. And we have a very special speaker with us this morning. She come on last minute, but we're super, super excited.
Yes.
We love her. It's, you want to say?
Yeah. Wow, I know her. She's a really good friend, and I'm so honored to actually know her. Not only online, but in person. And I'm so excited that she's actually here with us. And she is a filmmaker, award-winning international speaker, and the founder of Pranayama Yoga School. And I would love to invite her, Dashama, into the stage. Hello.
Come in the middle, darling.
And her workshop is
Flow state. I'm going to be talking about the flow state. 22 universal laws to find health, happiness, and prosperity today.
yes. Super exciting.
Who doesn't want that?
Everybody needs that. So that's why I'm here.
So we're super excited. We're going to be in the audience. As again, if you want to turn on your videos and get involved so Dashima can see you, feel you, and ask any questions you want, just pop in the chat along the way. And yeah, we'll get ready to ask Dashima at the end. So we'll leave the stage to you, darling. Thank you so much.
So today I'm going to be sharing an idea that will change the world. Everything in the universe is based on flow. Everything is energy, as Einstein said. And if you talk to Nikola Tesla, he said energy, frequency, and vibration is the basis of all existence. So if we understand that, every single cell in our body is constantly in motion. And when things are not moving with flow, we have stagnation. Stagnation can lead to sickness, disease, and eventually the death of the body. So this is just on the physical dimension. But we think about everything. Everything is energy. So how do we create a life of greater health, happiness, and prosperity? We do that by understanding the principles of flow and aligning with the 22 universal laws of life so that we may be a living embodiment of the energy of flow. So today I'm going to be sharing about the 22 universal laws that will help us access this amazing gift that we all are and to be able to align with our life purpose and our divine expression in this unique, beautiful life that we have. The first universal law is the law of free will. We all chose to come here. We actually chose our birth. Whether you believe it or not, you chose your parents, you chose your birth, you chose your circumstances, because on a soul level, we all knew that this was the exact experience that we would need to grow and evolve to our greatest soul expression in this life. What an amazing idea, right? So many times we had challenges and different things that happened from the beginning of life, and we could feel like a victim. Like, why me, right? Like, why did I have to have the situation that I had? Like, for example, my story was very challenging in the beginning. My mother lost her mind when I was 6 years old. Schizophrenia, drug addiction, alcohol addiction. She completely lost her mind when I was 6 years old, and she never got it back. So I ended up growing up in foster homes. So in the beginning of my life, I had a lot of tragedy, you could say, also a lot of trauma. But the unique thing that happened for me was that as I grew older, it revealed itself in various ways. But what I noticed was there was always this universal law of free will undercurrent throughout it all. So I was able to choose every single day, am I going to choose happiness or am I going to choose depression? Am I going to choose to rise up or am I going to choose to stay at the bottom of the barrel? However you want to look at that. So every single day we have this opportunity, this choice to rise up and to be our best version of ourselves. So the law of free will is the understanding that we all get to choose every single day and every single moment what we do, the path that we take, and how we are aligning with our greatest version of ourselves and our destiny. So there are 22 universal laws. In this talk, I may or may not go over all 22, but I want to hit some of the main ones so that we can really gain a deeper understanding of this. And by the end of this workshop, I'm actually going to lead us through some flow practices that are very powerful and effective that I've been teaching for over 15 years through my yoga school. I have the leading mystery school for healing in the world. Pranayama has reached millions of people globally since 2005. And I've had the opportunity to work with Harvard medical doctor Satbir Khalsa and learn the power of these practices in order to get into flow state. So what happened is, thousands of years ago, there were these sadhus, yogis, that were sitting in caves, kind of like you could think of them as the first researchers. They were sitting there and they were like, how can I get more connected to the universe, right? And so they would start to develop these different practices, breath work, movements, like meditation, really cutting through the clutter and stripping away the layers of the illusion, the maya of the mind. And for example, one of these master saints was Swami Muktananda. In his book, A Play of Consciousness, he talks about his journey of 7 years living in a cave and the kind of obstacles that arose during that journey. And so, for example, I remember one part of the story when he talked about this woman in a red dress that kept visiting him in his meditation. And he was getting so turned on because he had been celibate in a cave for like 5 years and eating like 5 grains of rice a day. And basically, it was this opportunity for his soul to face his greatest challenge, which is desire. So the Buddha taught that, the root of all suffering is attachment. So another one of our universal laws is the law of conscious detachment. And this is so important now more than ever as we are in this global pandemic lockdown, and I feel that every human being on earth has some level of attachment to the way that we wish life was right now, the way that we wish life would be, and some idea that we could control any of it. And the unique powerful understanding that we can gain from this is like nothing is ever in our control. So literally, no matter what is happening in the universe, whether it's a global pandemic lockdown or any other time throughout history, we never had control. Control was always an illusion. So the idea that we could have control just became like a spotlight shining on that this year, because now all of a sudden we're all being faced with the reality that nothing's in our control. The other piece of this that I think is very fascinating is the science behind this. If you look at the molecular structure under a microscope, for example, Dr. Emoto, he wrote the book Hidden Messages in Water, and he talked about how our molecules are directly impacted and reflected by the thoughts that we think and the energy that we put forward. So imagine that the thought that you're thinking is something along the lines of being anxious, anxiety or depression, anger, like these lower vibrational energies that arise as being a human. And then what that's doing to the molecular structure of the water element in our bodies. Our bodies are 70% water. So we are always directly impacting our energy with every thought, word, and action. So when we're living in a way that we're attached to how things should be, then this kind of constriction happens on a cellular level, and it impacts also the molecular structure of the water element, and it affects directly our emotions. Emotions are directly tied to the element of water. So the flow state I want to take this much, much wider than it's been studied in the past. Psychology had really pinpointed the idea that flow is where the degree of challenge meets the degree of skill. So this was the traditional definition of flow state as taught by the European psychologist Mihaly. And he wrote the book Flow and many other, he's kind of the grandfather of this understanding. But we can take that even wider. There's been neuroscience studying the consciousness of flow for now a couple decades. I don't think it's like thousands of years they're studying it, not nearly as long as the yogis have. The yogi study was more practical study. It was like real physical experiences and connecting to the universal consciousness through the energy of flow, and then talking about that in the form of yoga teaching. But to this day, we've broken it down even more micro in the form of science, research. Neuroscience shows us that when you meditate or do certain breathwork practices, your mind actually starts to rewire neural synapses, and you can access new dimensions of your own intelligence. And even beyond that, there are, people say that we use less than 10% of our brain capacity. And so what we've found is that through the medical research at Harvard and Stanford and different universities that I've worked with, that they show that as you meditate, do certain breathwork practices, yoga practices, focusing your mind on single-pointed awareness, we are able to awaken gray matter in the brain. So if you imagine your whole brain is just like 90% gray matter, which means it's not awake, and then you have like this 5 to 10% that's alive and awake, and most people are operating on this 5 to 10% of their capacity maximum. Okay. So what we're now able to understand is that with these practices, you can awaken more of your brain. So that means you can access a higher level of intelligence for everything. I was having a conversation with Sadhguru recently, and it was so powerful. He said, people make a mistake. People say God is love. People say God is compassion. But they never said God is intelligence. And this is the biggest mistake. And that's what he said. And I sat with that, and I thought, this is profound. God is intelligence. God is access to infinite intelligence. So if you are looking for answers, instead of Googling or looking in a book or asking a friend, go direct to the source. And this is what I'm talking about when we talk about flow state. So when you're in flow state, you're accessing the infinite intelligence of the source. It's an eternal knowledge. It's also sometimes called the Akashic Records. So in the spiritual community, we call this the Akashic Records. It's the book of life. Everything from past, future, and now is accessible to us through this dimension if we tap into it. This is something that we can all learn to do. It's not just for a select few yogis sitting in a cave for 7 years. This is something that's available to us. And it's really exciting because now, as neuroscience has backed it up, we have Harvard and Stanford, Yale research, people all over the world doing actual scientific studies. And then we have the psychological studies, qualitative studies of thousands of people that have shown that people that are living in flow have much better health, greater passion for life, positive mood and energy, higher creativity, productivity, and overall well-being in life. So this is something that can truly transform the entire world. The more people that can access flow state, even just for a moment, this is a good start. My intention for the book that I'm writing and that will be coming out in 2021, The Flow State, is to provide real practical guidance so that anybody can access flow state. And what I feel the ultimate experience is to be actually living in flow. I heard a recent interview with Oprah, and she was talking about how when she checks in with her team and anybody that's close to her, the first thing she asks them is, Are you in flow or are you out of flow? This is like the foundation of where's our conversation probably going to go. Usually people who are out of flow are starting right out with things are not working for me, I'm sad, I have problems, whatever the thing is, right? So it's like you know which direction the conversation's probably going to start going if the person says, yeah, I'm not in flow right now. On the other side of that coin, we have, if let's say they said, I'm in flow. Usually the conversation will be like, oh my God, I can't wait to tell you all the amazing things that are happening. Let me start with one. And just go into the blessings and the abundance and the miracles that are flowing, because that's the dimension that is available to everybody when we are accessing flow state. So to take flow beyond the idea that it's one single pointed moment or that it's something that psychology pinpointed as an activity, and to expand it, that is my mission through this work that I'm doing. To expand it to an awareness level that people could understand that it's not just a single pointed activity, but it's a possibility to live in that realm indefinitely. And that is my intention for my life, and I would share that intention with you and hope that you could join me on this adventure. It's such an experience that I'll share with you a couple of my first experiences of flow. I talked to you about my trauma of early childhood, but I'd like to talk to you about some of the beautiful things as well. When I was a little girl, my mother and father were actually yogis, vegans. We grew our own food. My mother made our clothing from hand. She was the infinite artist, creative, beautiful, angelic, just most amazing mother, until she lost her mind when I was 6. But before that, we lived by a river, and it was actually a beautiful place in northern Florida. It was called Three Rivers Estates, where the three rivers, the Ichitucknee, the Suwannee, and the Santa Fe River all meet in one place, and it's really a magical coming together. We used to go to the river every day as a young person, and I remember this was one of the greatest teachings of flow. And if you've ever read Siddhartha or any of the wisdom teachings of masters, you probably have heard a lot of stories about the teachings of the river, because in many ways the river is an analogy, a metaphor for life. And so I was a little girl, and me and my friends and my sisters, we would go to the very top of the river, and we would rent these inner tubes, and we would ride the river, ride these tubes down the river. And it was interesting because this was in northern Florida, so there was actually alligators in this river, and we had heard about these alligators eating children. And here we were, little kids, and we're just like, oh wow, we're gonna do it. And we were just into the adventure, and we were like fearless in a way. But I remember sometimes we didn't have enough money for an inner tube, so we would float down without the inner tube. I remember the first time that I did that. I was a young girl, a little tiny one, and I'm already not that big, full grown, so imagine me, right? I was like this probably. And I was floating down the river, terrified the whole time, because I'm sitting here thinking like, oh my God, is that an alligator? Is that an alligator? I was hardly breathing. The river was freezing, and I'm just floating on down. But that was so powerful for me. It developed my character in such a way that it helped me to see that when we have a fear, instead of running from the fear, if we can just step forward into the fear eventually dissolves, and that's what happened for me. So as a young girl, floating down the river full of alligators, I actually probably did see one or two along the way, but what happened over time is as I breathed through this freezing cold river water and talked to myself, I would give myself affirmations. I said, it's gonna be okay, you're safe, there's nobody gonna eat you. And I would literally talk to myself as I was going along this river. And by the end of it, it was such an incredible exhilaration, like a breakthrough inside of me, that I was like, I made it, I'm fine. Like even if there was an alligator, it didn't eat me, like no problem, I'm gonna be great no matter what. The same kind of experience I had as I got older. When I moved to South Dakota, I was living in this beautiful place that had an amazing lake. We used to go cliff jumping all the time, and in the Black Hills of South Dakota. These are the oldest hills in North America. At one point, the Black Hills were the highest mountains in North America, but over time, erosion has brought them a little bit lower, but it's still one of the most remarkably beautiful places in the world. If you've never been there, I encourage you to go. But so, we would go cliff jumping. There was this place by, it was called Alcatraz. So anybody who knows what Alcatraz means, it's actually the name of that like island that they put all the prisoners on off of California. But this was just like a random little rock island in the middle of the lake. So they called it Alcatraz. And we would swim over to the island and we would hike up the little steps to the different jumping parts, and we would cliff jump off of this rock. And there were different ones. Some was like 5 feet, 10 feet, 20 feet. So the top was 80 feet. So I remember this was my big goal. I'm like, one day I'm gonna jump off the top. And there was a few people that had done it, and a couple people died. A couple people really damaged their eardrums, but that didn't seem to dissuade me for some reason. I was just like, I'm gonna do it. So I basically, every year for 3 summers, I worked my way up. I remember I would visualize myself getting to the top. And then finally I got all the way to the top, and actually getting all the way to the top, I was so terrified, I turned around and hiked down. Then I was so humiliated in front of my friends, because I had a group of guy friends that we were all like kind of these tomboy, whatever, adventure group. And so I felt like the little dog with the tail between my legs as I went down, because I was too terrified to jump. So after that I said, no, the next time I go to the top, I'm going to jump. And so this was like, once again, it was like that stepping into the fear, stepping into the unknown, the uncertainty energy, but trusting with absolute certainty that no matter what, whatever was meant to be would happen, and that it was always going to be okay, because I was in alignment with the source of life, and that I was in a field of trust around that. And that's another one of the universal laws, is knowing that everything is always in divine and perfect order. We can trust that. And so if we can relax into that knowing, then life becomes a lot more enjoyable and actually more adventurous as well. So I did it. Finally, the 3rd summer, I hiked to the top of Alcatraz. I remember the day. It was actually profound, because it's really scary. I mean, if you've ever jumped off of an 80-foot cliff that people have died off of, it's kind of one of those things. I think I was 16 or 17. So I was like, okay. And I had worked my way up, just to let you know. I had done the 10, the 20, the 30, the 40. I don't think I went above 40, but I was like, okay, 40, 80 can't be that different, right? Okay, so I'm like, I'm doing it. I also had taken a swimming class, and I was in a diving class, but the diving board was only 10 feet, so that doesn't really prepare you for something like this, but at least I had gotten used to the idea of springboards, flying in the air, and landing without dying, so I had prepared myself on some levels. Here I was. I got to the top. I'm standing on the very edge of the cliff, 80 feet. I'm fucking terrified. And my heart is beating out of my brain, and I can't breathe. But I'm like, okay, how do I get past this fear? What can I do? And I just took a deep breath. I exhaled. I took another deep breath. And just like I had done on the diving board, even though it was only 10 feet high, but I had done backflips and gainers from the diving board, so I knew that I had it in me, that I could do this, and I also knew that even if I died, it would be okay, because honestly, whatever's meant to be will be. So I was like, surrender. Another one of the universal laws, by the way, the law of surrender. So I surrendered completely. I surrendered my fear, I surrendered my ego, and I surrendered my mind, because it was my mind that was causing all the problems to begin with, like most of us in the world, right? So I let go. I let go of all that, and I just trusted. And I took a big step forward, and I just jumped, and I knew the form. You got to keep your arms by your sides, otherwise you get a lot of pain right here when you land. So I just, like a pencil, 80 feet down. It was amazing. I went into the water, and I was like, I'm good. Like, no pain. I didn't land wrong. No ear problem come from this. I didn't die. Everything was cool. I came up, and I was like, whoa! The biggest exhilaration. You know, because I had taken that step towards something that I aspired to do. I faced my greatest fear. I trusted, I surrendered, I let go. And in that moment, it wasn't just the physical experience. This is a story, it's interesting, but the true breakthrough was on the inside. It had nothing to do with the cliff or surviving or not dying, or, I mean, those are parts of it. But the bigger breakthrough was just that inner knowing that anything that I could aspire to do is possible because I had done it. And that's what the power of experiencing these types of things has for us, right? Anytime you step forward and you face a fear, even if it's a small one, it etches into the soul fiber of your soul, and it makes you a greater being. It makes you to be able to face life in a greater way. This has happened to me time and again, and it's something that I love to teach people and to share about, because I feel that now more than ever, fear is the greatest pandemic in the world. People living in fear, people, like terrified of uncertainty. I remember when I was also terrified of uncertainty. So I'll share a story about that. I have so many stories. I'm going to be like one of those old grandmothers sitting there like, let me tell you. And like all my grandkids will be like, yay, I love grandma's stories. Probably. But for me, I used to be terrified of the mystery. I want to talk about the mystery because I think that this is the opposite of certainty. And they actually rhyme, so how fascinating, right? But the mystery is literally where we have no idea what's going to happen, and we're excited about that. And then there's the other side of it, which is uncertainty. We have no idea what's going to happen, and we're terrified about that. Both are possible for us at every moment, like two sides of one coin. Same thing, I talked about this a lot with my sister recently. We were talking about the two sides of the coin between anxiety and excitement. They're both a similar vibration, right? We can feel the energy of anxiety and it gets our heart pumping and we're kind of like all over the place. It's like a little storm inside. And then the other side of that is the exhilaration of excitement. Where like you could just flip the switch and all of a sudden you feel, wow, I can't wait to find out. But at the same time, I don't even care if I know because I'm excited and I know it's going to be good because I have absolute trust and faith in the universe because I know that everything is always in divine and perfect order. So that is the power of aligning with these universal laws that I'm teaching through the flow state, through my book, and we're going to be also creating a film about this and a whole bunch of other things to help people to understand the power of this is so much beyond just being in flow in a moment and an experience in one-dimensional activity, but to expand that out into our entire life so that we could see that all of life is constantly teaching us flow, teaching us the number one principle of flow, which is to let go, surrender. The universal law of surrender, I touched upon it a moment ago, is one of the most important things that you could ever learn and master. The greatest masters of all time talked about this understanding of letting go. And what does it mean to let go? When we're attached, I talked about that earlier, when we're attached to something, when we want it to be a certain way, when we think we need to control life, right? It feels very constricted. This is the opposite of flow, right? It's like constricted, it's like I can't move, it's uncomfortable, it feels painful, there's struggle. Okay, the opposite of that is let go. To let go completely, surrender and trust. Knowing fully that no matter what happens at every given moment, you are always supported, loved, provided for, and that the universe is always conspiring for you to succeed, to be happy, to be abundant, to be healthy, and for all of your dreams to come true. That is the true story. The story we create in our mind is, I don't have enough, nobody likes me, I'm alone, there's like fear, all these people can't get near anybody now because everybody's got COVID and they might kill me by their being near me, so now I need to be afraid. This is a pandemic of consciousness, more so than a virus in the world right now. And my friend Prince E.A., he made a whole video about this. The actual virus is the F word, which is fear. Fear is a virus. There were always viruses before COVID. I mean, we're in Bali right now. I had to get an app in order to come here on a special visa this time during COVID pandemic. I had to download this app to Indonesia, and they have 50 different virus epidemics that you could actually get just by coming to Indonesia at any time, regardless of COVID. And funny enough, COVID was at the bottom. COVID was number like 42. It was nowhere near even the top priority of an issue in this region of the world. The reason for that is there's always been viruses and possibilities of being sick. This has always been the case. I watched a conversation recently between Deepak Chopra and Sadhguru. It was so profound because Deepak, he's a pretty enlightened, spiritual teacher and medical doctor, and he talked very clearly about how our bodies are a host for viruses and bacteria and microorganisms. If you looked at us through a microscope, that's all we are on a physical level. So for us to live in fear of a virus is counterintuitive to being human, because we are just hosts of constant lots of different bacteria and viruses. So this fear pandemic needs to end now. And I've seen the statistics that show that mental health like disorders, domestic violence, drug abuse have escalated, skyrocketed during this lockdown. So the real repercussion is not the death from COVID. The repercussion is the emotional and mental death of our people. I consider myself a humanitarian. I've dedicated my entire life to serving the world and helping people to find health, happiness, and healing them through the modalities that I offer through Pranashama Yoga Institute. But I've noticed that the number one issue that's happening on the planet right now is fear that's preventing people from living their life again. Recently, I talked to someone in the media who said to me, I told her I was in Bali, and she said, "Isn't that irresponsible for you to travel?" And I thought to myself, and I was like, I've been traveling my whole life. Actually, this is the first time that I traveled that I didn't get sick. I went to Switzerland in January. I went to Davos, which is the World Economic Forum, actually the highest concentration of billionaires coming together in the whole world to talk about solutions for the world's problems. And I was called to go this year. I was in Hawaii, and it was during the time when there was fires in the Amazon, fires in Australia, fires in Indonesia, Russia. Every place on earth has been burning. The climate crisis out of control, and the planet is really in a whole global crisis. And I was sitting there in Hawaii. I was at this cleansing retreat for the new year, and I just got this it woke me up in the middle of the night. I literally couldn't sleep. I was so impacted by the feeling that Mother Earth is crying out for us right now to make some changes on a global level in order to bring balance back to her ecosystems. This is essential for us all to continue to live on this planet. So, like any normal human being, what did I do? I decided to buy a ticket to Switzerland and fly all the way to Davos to learn about the solutions for the global crisis and see what I could do to make a difference, because I really truly can't not do that. That's just who I am. So I flew all the way to Switzerland, and literally I got to meet all these amazing people, and I found out the solutions for the global climate crisis. I'll tell you about that in a moment, but it was so fascinating. I said, oh good, we have solutions. It's all covered, we're good. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna go back home because we got it covered. Everybody, these billionaires, all these enlightened people, got like Greta Thunberg, Sadhguru was there. Everybody was there, Will.i.am, and I thought, okay, we got the solutions, great. Flew back home, got sick on the flight. I got so sick on that flight. I was sick for 2 weeks. I couldn't breathe. I was like respiratory illness. I don't know what it was, honestly, but it took me 2 weeks and 2 ayahuasca ceremonies, and it still didn't go away for a while. I was sick, I'm telling you. And that was in January, before the global lockdown of COVID, before it was really irresponsible to travel. And before that, in October, I went to India, to the Oneness Temple. Once again, I was having an amazing experience at the Oneness Temple, meditating with the universe for 12 days, and then I went to Gandhi's birthday party with the Dalai Lama in Delhi, and I was like, life is amazing, and then all of a sudden, I flew back to the US. I got so sick. I was so sick in October after that flight. Man, I'll tell you, I had some kind of infection that it took me a long time to heal. I even had to take antibiotics, which I never usually do, which almost killed me, which I'll never take again. But at the time, I thought, oh my God, if I don't do something, I'm going to die. This was before the pandemic. And there was many times before that where I got sick traveling and almost died. I remember when I went to India the first time, 12 years ago. I flew all the way to India. I was staying in an ashram. I got so sick because the taxi guy was sneezing on me the whole ride. And I swear to God, he's like hawking loogies out the window. I'm not joking, 7 hours, because I was supposed to take the train, but it happened to be India's New Year and I couldn't get a train ticket. So I took a taxi all the way from Delhi to Rishikesh, and it took 6 hours. And the whole time the guy is sneezing on me, coughing and spitting out the window. I had no idea that I was going to end up with a respiratory infection and stuck in bed with a fever for 4 days after that taxi ride. This was in 2008. Way before COVID. So what I'm trying to say is it was way more hazardous or like irresponsible to travel before now. Actually, coming from USA to Bali was the safest traveling experience I've probably ever had. Everything is so sterilized and everybody's wearing all this masks and stuff. Nobody's sitting next to you. You get 3 rows by yourself and you're literally like in the good life flying around. And I got here, first time probably in my life, I didn't get sick. So I'm just letting everybody know. That fear pandemic, we're gonna let that go now. We're gonna like erase that story from our consciousness and we're gonna create a new story. So I have a practice that I do with people. It's called old story, new story. It's very simple. Here's your old story, whatever that is. Here's the old story of humanity. Everybody's afraid, locked down, living in their house, doesn't want to leave the house because they're afraid they might die of a virus that kills less than 0.001% of people. Old story. New story. Life is good. We're moving into the Aquarian age. 1221 is the catalyst for a major portal, and we get to choose. Are you going to choose the old story or the new story? New story is you're living your dreams. New story is you're stepping fully into your alignment with source energy, and in that field you know that you are infinitely protected and that no virus can kill you unless it's your time to go. And if it's your time to go, there's nothing you could have done about it anyway, so let it go. Surrender. Trust. Live in faith and know that whatever is meant to be at any given moment will be. And if it's your time to go, you will go. I know so many people, I live in Hawaii, have a house in Hawaii. I know so many people who are afraid of getting eaten by a shark. So they don't go in the ocean. And it's interesting because sharks are pretty scary, but I was actually swimming with the dolphins all summer while I was writing the Flow State book. We have this amazing place by my house where you can literally swim with wild dolphins almost every day. And I was swimming with them, and one time we went out and there's these certain type of dolphins that are called, they're actually called pilot whales. Even though they're dolphins, they call them a whale because they're extra big, really big, and they're kind of like slower. They're not like the spinners. The spinner dolphins are so epic. They're just like, yeah! They're just literally like jumping out of the ocean, like spinning and dancing and smiling, and you're like, yes. Pilot whales are more chill. The interesting thing about pilot whales is the shark always comes with the pilot whale. This white-tipped shark, 2 of them usually, and you're just like, not too cool. Like it's like you don't really want to swim with them because they're not that much fun anyway. They're not like the spinners. Spinners are so much joy. Literally their vibration just puts you into ecstatic bliss just by like being around them. You're like, oh my God, look at this cute little dolphin like flying around. The pilots are more chill. They're not really my vibe. I can hang with them, but what I don't like is the way that they always come with 2 sharks, but whatever. So this year I said, okay, I'm gonna swim with these sharks. Is fine. I'm just gonna give it a try. So I did it. I was swimming with the sharks, but the whole time I just thought to myself, they're just not that fun. You know, it's cool to look at them, and there was a guy there, he's a photographer for the BBC and National Geographic, and he said that they will pay him up to $25,000 for a photo of a shark. I was like, what about a dolphin? No, they're not as valuable. I don't know why. Maybe because it's a higher risk factor to be around sharks. I can't really tell you the reason. But the bottom line is that I learned so much from swimming with these sharks, the dolphins, the pilot whales this summer, and the energy and the importance of vibration. So another one of the universal laws is the law of vibration. And obviously I knew about vibration before that, but I'll give you a little bit of background on my exploration with the universal law of vibration. I remember when I was in college, I had the hardest time choosing a major. I changed my majors 9 times. I started out, I wanted to be an anthropologist. I'm just gonna go live in Africa or like the with Aborigines and live and study their culture because I was so fascinated with travel and culture and indigenous people. After about 5 minutes of that major, I was like, you know, this isn't probably something I can have a career with, so what am I going to do here? So I said, okay, I'm going to try another one. And I said, okay, I'm going to be an accountant. I'm going to be practical. So I was dating this guy that was in the accounting major at the time, and I was like, okay, let me give it a try. 1 semester, that was all I could do. It was horribly boring. So anyway, major after major, I tried many different ones. I was in the poli-sci. I wanted to be an attorney for a second. I don't know why. I just liked talking, perhaps. I didn't realize that it was so boring. And then once I learned what it was really all about. And now I actually talked to a group of attorneys the other day that said there's like the highest depression and suicide rate right now is amongst attorneys. It's a really, I'm so grateful that my soul didn't choose that path. Anyway, one day I was at the university, I was running on the trail behind my dorm, and we had this trail along a river. Once again, I always find myself by the river. I tend to always find my way back home. I'm running by the river, and I remember saying to the universe or God or whatever you want to call that, I wish I could just study energy. Like, why don't they have a major of energy? This is something that's always fascinated me, and I find it to be so important. Like, everybody wants more energy. How come some people have a lot of energy, some people have no energy? How come some people can't seem to manage their energy and other people are masters of their energy? This is important. This is fascinating, and I wanted to study it, but there was no major of energy. So I was like, okay. I remember I was, the closest I got was organic, I think it was physics, organic chemistry or physics class, and I remember I used to asked the professor all these questions. I ended up getting the award for Student of the Year from my professor of, I think it was physics or organic chemistry, because I was always asking her questions about the nature of the universe that she couldn't answer for me. And I realized the answers are not going to be in this setting, okay? It finally dawned on me that no matter what I studied, whatever degree that I got, it was not going to probably be my life path at that time. So I said, okay, I'm just going to finish school and then I'll figure it out. So that's what I did. And eventually, just not that long after that, I was working in a job and I was hating my life, and it was like a corporate type of office job, sales job. I was really good at this job. I was getting promoted. I was making lots of money. I was so great at it. But at the same time, I was not happy. I was depressed every day. I hated going to an office. I hated fluorescent lighting. I was so good at the job, I could get everything done in 15 minutes, and then I was stuck there for 7.5 hours longer. And I was like, so I developed a little scheme. We had a phone line that we could call in. It was a dead line, because they would like actually monitor my phone minutes. So I just called the dead line and let the phone sit on the deadline for like hours. Months went by, and I finally got caught. I didn't get fired. I actually quit, but that was one of the things that helped me to realize this is not my job for me, like for my lifetime, because here I am. I don't want to be here, and I'm literally getting everything done in 10 minutes, and then I'm bored, and then on top of that, I became depressed. I was depressed because I didn't have my purpose. I was depressed because I wasn't in alignment with my soul. I was depressed because I didn't know what to do and my life was confusing. I was depressed because many things. I remember I had this boyfriend at the time. He was like a Tony Robbins type of guy, and we had started the Entrepreneurs Club together. We were like so, inspiring for everybody. And then all of a sudden, like, I'm depressed, and he's like, Dashima, write down 10 things you're grateful for. And I remember I'm like, writing this down. It was like, I'm grateful for my house. Like, I had this amazing house on a golf course. I'm grateful for whatever. I was grateful, but I didn't feel it. This was the pivotal turning point for my life, because I literally, it was just like going through the motions of life. I was going to work. I hated my work. I was trying to be grateful. I couldn't feel it. At the time, I had me and him had decided to become celibate because we were into the church, and the church was like, it's a sin to have sex before married. And I was like, we've been having sex for a year already, but let's stop because we're sinning. So we decided to stop. Worst idea of my life. Probably like not the worst idea because it led me to my spiritual awakening in a bigger way, but I will say that it was horrible. I'm just being honest. So the point was, I got really depressed, okay? And this is what happened. I think this is actually one of the reasons that a lot of people are depressed, is on a spiritual level, you're not in alignment with your soul, you're not in alignment with your purpose, and you're not having great sex. Those three things combined can create a lot of depression. I went to an ayahuasca ceremony one time, and grandmother ayahuasca told me, she said, love making will heal the world. So I took that as, that's my religion, if you can handle it. What I mean by love making, it doesn't have to be with another person. Love making with life. So one of the teachings of Tantra that I really resonate with so much, and that's one of the paths that I believe can change the world as well, is that love making with life, like every moment we are making love with life through our breath, through our movement, through how we experience everything in this moment. And the flow state is all intertwined with that. So as we interact with life, you know, I think there's a poem by, I don't know if it's Rumi, somebody basically was talking about, I do not wish to live another moment on this earth without making love to life today. And this was like a line in a poem that I read many years ago, and I thought about that. Because I was like, you know, we wake up, we go through the motions. And I was thinking about when I was writing my gratitude list, like, I'm so grateful, and I didn't feel it at all. So that's what we mean by being numb, going through the motions of life. And literally, as we interact with life in that way, life interacts with us in that way. And so you get very mediocre results. Right? This is not a life of passion and purpose. This is not a life of ecstatic joy. And when people hear of this idea of life of ecstatic joy, a lot of people are very skeptical. Is it possible? Can you live a life of ecstatic joy? I'm here to say it's possible. I've dedicated my life to it. I wrote a book about it. I'm writing another one. I've created courses and programs, and I certified teachers, and I help many people to be able to find this path because it's available to everybody. And it's a sin, if you're going to think of what is a sin, it's a sin against humanity for people not to have access to this information, because this information will change your life and change the trajectory of your entire soul evolution. So as I learned about the idea that we could make love to life, and it had nothing to do with another being, although that's another part of it, that could be a nice experience, but making love to life as an individual, this is the tantric path, right? So like everything that you eat, let that be savored. This is also mindfulness. Mindfulness is that every single thing that we do and everywhere that we go, we are aware, we're present, we are in this moment, and we are fully alive. And that part of us that's dead from something of the past can be healed. The actual word healing, the root of that translates to mean to make whole. So a lot of people, when they feel like I need healing, or you feel a disconnection, or you feel like part of you is not in flow or not in ecstatic bliss, what that really means is that there is a part of you that does not feel whole and does not feel connected to the infinite consciousness, the oneness of existence. So the path of living the flow state is the path back to that wholeness, is the path to understanding that we are all interconnected to the oneness of existence. And that is another one of the universal laws, the universal law of oneness. It teaches us that as we connect more fully with the oneness of existence, then we are able to live a more ecstatic life. Because actually, the source of life is constant ecstasy. And so when life is streaming through us on that level, at that vibration, we are an expression of that, the divine light streaming through us, through our ecstatic awakening. So when I was talking about the universal law of vibration, this is so powerful. I think people are waking up to this more and more now than ever. So as we look at that, we can think that when I talked about earlier, everything is constantly in motion. Everything is energy, and all of our molecules are always vibrating at a certain frequency. And in the universe, the universal consciousness exists at a major, huge, beautiful like high frequency. We could call this on a scale of 0 to 1,000. We would call it like 1,010, right? Above the highest, there's this frequency, and that is universal consciousness. And we would also maybe liken that to enlightenment. So if you were thinking about the path that you're on and the awakening and the progress that you're making in your day-to-day experience of life, most of the people in my community, in the spiritual community, are people that have a path. The aspiration is to become enlightened. So what does it really mean to become enlightened? It sounds like something far away and only for those sadhus sitting in the caves. But I actually believe flow state is enlightenment. Now, some people can access it for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes here and there. But the aspiration should be and can be that we could access this full time, all the time. And that we would be living in that flow, and that we could be living at that vibration, the highest vibration of consciousness, beyond bliss. They have a word for this. It's called ineffable. Ineffable means beyond words. This is the word for this level of frequency, ecstatic blissfulness. So that's available to us. And then the whole spectrum of energy beyond that, all the way down to the lowest form, which is depression. And I've experienced it all. So I can speak from direct experience. I'm not just reading out of a book. I'm not a psychologist that studied this. I am a human that came from probably some other planet, but I came here, and I know that I came here for a purpose, and it is to deliver this message to the world. The message of oneness, love, and flow. So I want to talk a little bit about love. I've talked a lot about flow. I've talked a little bit about oneness. And I think the element that holds those two together is this energy of love. So one of the universal laws is universal love. Universal love, I had the opportunity to connect with Ravi Shankar. He gave me a quote that he's providing for the book, and it's all about universal love. And I really loved what he said. And there are 3 types of love. So the first type of love is actually more like lust. So this type of love, it's like driven by desire. And so it's the lowest form of love. It's not unconditional, it's conditional. It's based on whether or not you're getting what you want and need. So this is very, very low form of love. As soon as you're not getting what you need, the love goes away. This is like not even love, but we can put it into the category. Second form of love is romantic love. This is the kind of love, it's like somebody delivers to you on a plate of chocolate, and they're going, massage your whole body. This is romantic love. It's beautiful, roses, champagne, whatever you like, it's beautiful. But it's still not the highest attainment of love. So what is the highest attainment? And what is unconditional love? This is a question, because this is something that drives all of our psyche, all of our consciousness is driven by this energy of love, whether we know it or not. Humans are driven by wanting to have love and wanting to give love, wanting to be happy and wanting to somehow serve the world to make the world a little better. That's the predominant energy of human, what's the driving force. And the other one is connection, which is also a part of love. So the highest form of love is unconditional love. And I look at it like universal love as well. Like Jesus was a divine embodiment of this. He was like washing people's feet, and like whatever he could do. It was like, how can I serve? How can I, it's absolute devotion. So it's not dependent upon getting something in return. If you think that Jesus was washing people's feet in order to get something in return, then this would be like a fallacy, a total mistake. He was doing this to demonstrate, to illustrate how to live with divine love for one another. Love your brothers, love your sisters as yourself. How would you like yourself to be treated? Love one another on that level. Love with compassion. Mother Teresa was a perfect example of that. She dedicated her whole life to helping the children in India and Calcutta and in the hospitals as a nun. She was an ultimate embodiment of compassion. And there's just many different examples of different types of people that embody this energy of unconditional love. But how can we make that applicable to our lives? How can we utilize this force? This, like some people feel that, and I do feel it could be, the most powerful force in the world. According to Heart Math Institute, when they've studied on a scientific level, research shows that the heart has 5,000 times more power than the mind. And everybody always thinks the mind is so powerful, what you think you become. But what about how you feel is what you become? Like I said earlier, I was sitting there writing my gratitude list, but I didn't feel it. I was thinking, not feeling, so the heart wasn't engaged, so the experience wasn't whole, and I wasn't really experiencing gratitude in that moment. This happens a lot. This happens in the level of love. How many times do you say you love someone, but you don't really feel that, or that you don't treat them the way that you would like to be treated in this form of love? So love is a grand, topic. We could talk for hours and hours, but it's one of the universal laws in my book, The Flow State. There's many more universal laws. I want to talk also a little bit about the law of attraction. Law of attraction is a universal law that has become very popular. It got popular from the movie The Secret. So The Secret made it popular, but it was actually, always existing, right? So before the movie The Secret, we had people like Catherine Ponder, even, like Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, like all of these people, they were teaching on the law of attraction. This is an ancient principle. Kings and queens and the emperors and Napoleon Hill and Alexander the Great, everybody, Cleopatra, they all knew about the law of attraction. So they used this force to their own good. What happened in the modern time with the movie The Secret was it made it available to all people. So now more people are able to utilize the power of the law of attraction to their benefit and to create the life of their dreams. So that's actually what is happening with the flow state right now, and that's what I'm excited. The flow state is like the law of attraction 2.0. The flow state finishes or completes the package because the law of attraction is a little bit limited. It helps you to understand that the energy you put out can come back to you, but it doesn't help you to understand all these other elements, the other universal laws that are at play to determine how and when and whether you will actually attract what it is that your soul and heart desires. Because sometimes the desire itself, the wanting, the needing of something is pushing it away, and this is a principle of the law of attraction. But at the same time, if we can understand that if you're living in alignment with all of the universal laws, then of course the law of attraction will also work for you instantaneously and at will. Because, for example, the law of detachment, conscious detachment, or the law of surrender, both support the law of attraction fully. So as you surrender, meaning let go of what it is that you want, and then as you detach from the desire of it, then it can come, because everything is energy. So everything actually wants to come to you, and they say what you seek is seeking you. So know that, feel that, believe that, trust that, but at the same time, you gotta let it go. Right? Because the more you want, the more you desire, it's pushing it away. It's creating a vibrational barrier that repels instead of attracts. There's a book that I love. It's called The Universal One. This is actually Nikola Tesla's book. He didn't write it, but it was the book that taught him, and it was his teacher that wrote this book. And it's so powerful, and it has like all these diagrams, and you can see, and there's a whole part of it about magnetism, and repulsion. And this is very scientific. Like if you look at physics, you can see this in the form, like when they talk about batteries. That's why Tesla utilized this in his science in order to create energy, to create electricity. It was all about understanding the laws and the dynamics of attraction and repulsion, or this whole dynamic. So in the end of the day, it's kind of complex. I want to make it simplified for people to understand. So the law of attraction works hand in hand with all of the other universal laws of the flow state. And when I think about the flow state as a new paradigm, and it's an idea that will change the world, the reason is because it's just a new name for a very, very ancient understanding. In the yogic tradition, they call that samadhi. Samadhi is total absorption. And in the scientific papers that I've studied from Harvard and different universities, I've been able to learn from different masters and scientists that they actually show and they teach that this is the word for it. That to be in flow is to be in total absorption with the moment, with whatever is. And that is actually the exact same way that they describe the highest attainment of meditation in the eightfold path of yoga, Ashtanga system, which is called samadhi. Samadhi means total absorption. So samadhi is synonymous with the flow state. There's other words for this as well. In different spiritual communities, they call it nirvana, and they call it, kind of Zen is another one, the Zen path, the Taoism. In the Tao, they call, the word Tao is actually another kind of synonym for samadhi, enlightenment, total absorption, and what I call the flow state. So it's all semantics. This is just a new paradigm because it's shifting away from that it's some kind of ancient, distant past, and it's bringing into the now. It's bringing into relevant current circumstances, and it's helping us to understand that the more we master the universal laws of life, the more we live in the current of flow. And in the current of flow, we are infinitely protected. We are loved, we are supported, we have perfect health, we are in happiness and joy, abundance, prosperity. All good things are flowing, miracles are a daily basis. According to the Course of Miracles, miracles should be happening every day. It is part of our divine nature to experience miracles every day. So if we're not experiencing miracles every day, something is blocked in the flow. So it's fascinating because as we learn this, we can realize, okay, so when you're experiencing challenges, difficulties, a lot of hard times, it's not that there's something wrong with you or that you've brought this into your life or that you did something wrong. It's just that there's something that needs to be reconciled. Something needs to be healed, cleared, released so that you can become reconnected to the wholeness of the source of life. So that's the path of the flow state. It's literally choosing in every moment not to repress or ignore what arises, but to face it head on like I did with the shark or the cliff or the river and the alligators, and just to move forward to whatever it is that's causing the fear, that's blocking the flow, and breathe through it with some amazing practices that I'm going to offer in just a moment so you can release what it is that's blocking the flow and live more in alignment with your divine purpose, your destiny, and in an ecstatic blissfulness that's available to us all. So there are other universal laws in the book, and if you want to download the free chapter, I have at theflowstate.co, you can get a free chapter. This is the universal law of intention. And in this free chapter, I chose it specifically because intention is one of the most important pieces to creating the life of your dreams. What is your intention? The intention is the underlying motive, the energy beneath it all. So in the Universal Law of Intention, the chapter, I've included a practice on how to script your ideal day. Scripting is one of those practices that is scientific, I guess, in nature. It's proven that when you script things out, when you write them onto paper, it becomes more real. The mind doesn't know the difference between you feeling something's real and it being real. So actually anything that you feel inside of your body and you can see inside of your mind is real. And it can become in the physical form if you put enough focused intention on that to be. So the Universal Law of Intention is the free chapter, theflowstate.co, you can download it. And the other part of that chapter is you can script your 10-year vision. So when you look back from 10 years to this moment right now, you're looking back with passion and enthusiasm and excitement to know that you did it, that all your dreams came true, that it all happened, and that you're just over there celebrating it and continuing to create and manifest more dreams. Because manifesting dreams never ends. It's not like you get there and then you're done. Hopefully not, because that means you're dead. So what you really want to do is be on a lifelong journey of continual evolution and growth and expansion and attainment of new dreams and new exciting endeavors and new ways to serve the world through your unique purpose and passion. So I highly encourage you to download the chapter of the book. I have many other gifts that I'm offering as well. You can go to my website at pranashama.com. I have a free webinar. You can learn about the different modalities, the path, and this movement that we're starting that is truly a shift in the paradigm of consciousness on earth, for people to understand that we are the creators and that we can heal ourselves, we can heal each other, and we can heal the world. And right now the world needs healing more than ever. And so as we come together, we can be torch bearers, guiding light for those who need it most, and also at the same time, your own journey, healing yourself and your people around you along the way. Healing is wholeness. So bringing wholeness to the world is what we need now more than ever. And I'm highly passionate about this endeavor. So the other free gift that I have for you is a Self-Love and Yoga 7-Day Challenge. It's 7 videos. I'm going to offer a few practices right now that you can do with us right now. And then also, if you want to download some more of these practices, I have a free video series. It's at dashima.org/love, and you will be able to access 7 videos so you can practice with me at home and get into a high vibration, clear your energy, release stuck emotions. It has meditation, EFT, breathwork, mantra, affirmations, prayer, and yoga. So let's do a practice together. Hopefully you're ready. You don't need to prepare. You don't need a yoga mat or anything for this. We're going to start with a breath practice. We're going to do a breath practice, and then we're going to do a little bit of meditation, and then end with a dance and a song. This is how I like to get into flow. There's many different ways of getting into flow. I love swimming, taking a bath, self-massage. There's so many good ways. And in the flow state, I include so many practices, like 50 or 100 different types of ways that you can get into flow. So the nice thing about it is, if you're feeling stuck or blocked, there's always a way through. Never feel hopeless. There's always something that you can do. This is energy medicine. So my school is called Prana Shama, and that means prana is energy and shama is shaman. So it means the energy healer. Shaman are the healers of the world, indigenous wisdom coming from source energy, healing people with energy and nature, plants, and consciousness. And so we are energy healers. So you're going to learn how to be an energy healer and how to be your own shaman and how to heal your own life. Let's go. Let's do this breath practice. This is one of my favorite breath practices. It's called 10 breaths to bliss. What I like about it is it's 10 breaths and it's not so long. And it gets you there faster, right? Because sometimes you don't have an hour, but you want to feel good. So there's 3 different ways that you can do this. So we're going to do 3 different rounds of it. And by the end, you're really going to feel a higher level of ecstatic blissfulness. The nice thing is, there's actually a word for this. It's called ecstasis. Ecstasis is a word for like being in ecstasy. So you can create ecstasis from internal practices with your breath, with different ways, like fasting is another good way, cleansing, juice fasting, because a lot of our, like 90% of our serotonin, our dopamine, and our happiness hormones come from the gut. This is another part of the flow state book. I talk about this. As you cleanse your gut, your body naturally produces so much happiness hormones, and it floods you with these neurotransmitter flood of joy and happiness just because your gut is cleaned out. So that's a whole nother topic that I can go into another time. You'll read about it in the book. But anyway, let's do this. So 10 breaths to bliss is going to be like this. So you can do this standing or sitting. What I like to do is just, you're going to inhale, arch your back, and look up, and exhale out of the mouth. So it's like this. 10 times. 5 more. Last 2. Last one. And on the last one, we're going to inhale and hold the breath 30 to 60 seconds. Inhale. Hold the breath into the heart. And exhale. Okay. The next one we're going to do is in the mouth, out of the mouth. This one's a little more powerful. If you're standing, you might sit, make sure there's something behind you. I've seen people faint or pass out sometimes if you do this too aggressively, which, so you can start gentle. But if you can, try to have a lot of energy in the breathing because you're really going to feel this like wave of ecstasis. Let's do it. Okay, inhale, mouth, mouth, okay? Last one. Now inhale, hold the breath. 30 to 60 seconds, hold it in the heart. And exhale. Another way you can do this, we're going to do one more round. Another way you can do this is with a mantra. So when you're inhaling, think of what you're calling in. And when you're exhaling, think of what you're letting go of. So it's like, you can do it in the mouth, out the mouth. You can do it in the nose, out the mouth. Or you can try it the other way around. So my favorite is in the nose, out the mouth. So try whichever version you like on this third round. And let's do it together. Now this time, think of what affirmations, what are you calling in? So that's like inhaling that, and then what are you letting go of? And exhaling that. You can have it in your mind. You can't really say it out loud, of course, right? Because you're breathing. So just keep this mantra in the mind. Okay, let's begin. Sorry. Let's go. Last one. Hold the breath, inhale. Deep breath in the heart. Hold it, hold it. And release. Okay, hope you felt that. If you didn't feel this, then I invite you to do it more intensely next time. And do this every day, and you can do it more than 3 rounds. Do it as long as you want. I've done this up to 1 hour. There's many different ways. If you want to get into a whole cathartic experience, releasing traumas from past lives, you can go like 1 hour. 1 hour, if you did do that, 30 minutes to 1 hour, will actually trigger your body's natural ability to heal and release DMT, which is the same element that's found in ayahuasca, which is the most healing medicine plant in the world, and your body has it naturally inside of yourself. So this breath can actually trigger the release of that after around 30 to 60 minutes. So if you're up for that, we have those kinds of things available in my online training program, my certification. We certify energy healers and yoga teachers, breath and meditation experts, and we have the full length practice there. Anyway, let's go on. We're going to do the next part, which is actually meditation. So, you know, everybody realizes now the mind is so powerful. We talked about it earlier, the heart's more powerful, but you know, it's a lot easier to work with the mind sometimes because the mind, you know, it's like everybody's living in their mind all the time. If we could make that 6-inch journey from the head to the heart, we will transform our entire planet. And that's where we're going actually. 1221 and actually 2024, these portals are moving humanity from the old paradigm of toxic masculinity on Earth that's pillaging the land, that's raping our Earth, and it's moving into the divine feminine energy. We all have divine feminine energy within us, and it is our responsibility to cultivate that so that we can be the embodiment of that. So the divine feminine is love, compassion, kindness, generosity, nurturing, these energies that we have within us that we can strengthen with practice. So we can do that through the mind. There's many types of meditation that I teach. I like to do chakra healing meditation, inner child meditation, but today we're going to do a very simple meditation. This meditation is actually one that I learned from Sadhguru. I really like it, and it's simple. Anybody can do it. We're not going to do the full 7 minutes because the full practice is 7 minutes, but we'll just do a few moments. The mantra inside of the mind is, I am not the mind. It's an English mantra. I am not the mind. I am not even the body. So we want to go and understand, I'm not the mind, I am not even the body. Before we go into this meditation, I want to share a story about that. The power of meditation. My experience with Vipassana meditation, which is a 10-day silent retreat meditation taught by Buddha. I went to this, I always thought I could never do that. I could never sit for 10 days silently, right? And I thought to myself, I could never, give up my work, my phone, my social media life. I could never get that amount of time off. But anyway, one day it became necessary. So I decided to do it. I went to this meditation retreat. Little did I know that it was going to so profoundly change my life. So this is what happened. They take your phone, they take everything, you have nothing. You can't even write, they take your pen. Basically, all you have is yourself and your mind for 10 days, 10 hours a day. It's very profound, especially with someone with such an overactive mind like my own. So I went into there with high hopes, thinking, all right, I'm gonna be good. Luckily for me, I got there first, so I created a throne for myself. I highly recommend this if you ever go. It's basically, I had these cushions under my hips. I had a back to my seat, so I was literally in a meditation throne where everyone else was on the floor. But I didn't feel bad about it because I was like, all right, I gotta survive this. So 10 days, 10 hours a day, I sat there. For the first 3 days, I was fine. I actually thought, this is nothing. Okay, no biggie. And then I started working with Mula Bandha. So in yoga, we have this thing called Mula Bandha. It's down at the perineum. It's like if you're doing Kegels, if you've ever been pregnant, or if you have to go pee, like if you're holding your pee. And then there's this thing that we do in Kundalini where you pulse that. You pulse the energy, the muscles down there, and then what it does is it activates the Kundalini energy, and then it sends it up through your body, and it gives you this ecstatic, orgasmic blissfulness. Well, I felt, I'm just sitting here 10 hours a day, 10 days in a row. I'm going to do that because I was getting quite bored of this. The whole thing was silent, just breathing. So I started pulsing this Kundalini, this is called the Mula Bandha. So I was pulsing Mula Bandha as I was sitting there. And then all of a sudden, I went into this ecstatic blissfulness and left my body for 45 minutes. And when I came back, everybody was gone. And I was like, oh no. And I went and told the teacher. And the teacher said, you have to go beyond that. And I was heartbroken because I thought I had found the method. I was like, oh yeah. Okay, so then he taught me, I have to go beyond that. And when I did, it took me into the most profound healing experience of my life. I think I'm coming to the end of my talk, so I'm not gonna have time for this session with you all. If you want to continue, you can definitely connect with me. I actually have a whole video about this on YouTube if you want. It's called 45-minute orgasmic bliss meditation, and you can go there or connect with me, any of my free offers that I shared today, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you again soon. But until then, hopefully you'll be finding your flow in this chaotic, uncertain world, and recognize that you are the creator. We are the creators of our reality. So let's take responsibility for our lives and be a torchbearer to lead humanity into the next wave of awakening. Much love. Namaste.
Thank you, amazing.
Such an engaging, beautiful energy.
Yeah,
Stay with us.
stay with us.
Yeah, don't go
Yes.
anywhere.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I loved your stories. So
Yeah.
engaging, smiling all the time.
Wow.
Beautiful light, yet engaging, and strong presence. Light and strong, simultaneously. I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's fun.
So we had got a couple of questions. If you guys have any more questions at home, we have time for just a couple. We're running a bit late, so we'll try and keep it relatively short. But what do you feel are the best practices to get into flow state and stay there?
So that's what I was kind of teaching. So I had to end early, but I really feel that, you know, you have it's a mastery of the energy. So it's not something that happens overnight. It did happen for a few people, like I know Sadhguru, Eckhart Tolle, they just kind of like fell into this, what they call enlightened state. But for most people, it's a gradual, progressive awakening, and it's a kind of like expansion of the portal of that. So maybe you start with like focusing your mind as the first step. So that's why meditation is so powerful. Definitely just finding something to focus on. There's different types of meditation. So you can do breath, that's a form of meditation. Mantras are a form of meditation. Even movement, dance can be a form. So like whatever works for you, but just make sure that your mind is not wandering and that it's single-pointed awareness. And to be in total absorption with the moment is the goal of it, right? So if you could be in the absorption of the moment beyond your thoughts for even just a second, you know, and then try to do 2 seconds and keep going until hopefully one day you can expand that to an hour or 24 hours a day. That would be the goal. Meditation is one of the most powerful, but that includes the mantra, the breath, and these movement practices. And then I really feel also like, for me, one thing that really helps is fasting. A lot of people don't talk about that, but I'm a big advocate. I do fasting every week, like at least a little bit. Intermittent fasting I do every day, but like full fasting, like liquid fasting, like 1 day to 3 days a week, or like 1 day of dry fasting. It puts you into a state beyond your physical body, and then you go beyond your mind because of that, and it helps you to be more open to the universe. So I just feel like fasting is so interesting. Like people don't talk about it that much, but it's truly one of the keys to flow state. And a lot of people that are in flow like do that regularly, and that they know that. And cleansing and stuff, because like I was saying, a lot of our serotonin and the happiness, joy hormones are in the gut. So if you're not feeling joy and happiness, it might be because your gut is toxic or you have parasites. So you have to like get all that out, because those are like leaching your vibe, and then you can be like higher vibe and you'll feel more in the flow, because flow is a high vibe state. So if you're feeling low vibe, it's generally because something is causing that.
Wow, amazing.
Should I read that? The feminine.
No, that's for us.
There's another question. Is what was the Universal One, the book?
Oh,
What's
yeah.
the author's name? Do you know?
I can get that for you. I'm trying to remember. I think it's like, I can get it for you. I don't have his name right now.
Okay, no worries.
It's a kind of an unknown author. Like it's like one of those sacred texts like only a few people know about. I found out about it from my friend Major. He's like a famous rapper and he has it. And I was like, no way. Like, you never know who's in the club until you find out.
Now they are. So welcome.
Yeah.
welcome.
Everybody's in the club now. I'll get you the name of the author. I think it's something Marshall.
Beautiful.
What was the title so I can...
It's called Universal One. The cover is like a dark, dark blue with gold emblem.
Amazing. Dashima, that was so good. Round of applause for Dashima, everybody. So good. Thank you so much for joining us last minute. It's been amazing to have you here. We feel super blessed. Thank you so much for your energy, your stories, and your wisdom. Amazing.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
We're
At the moment, we have 2 more workshops taking place in 2 different rooms. The first one is the feminine approach to fasting, how to apply the transformative effect of fasting to your life in the most gentle and self-loving way, by Alice Copelet. And this is actually good. You just talked about fasting, and we have this one now. And How to Be a Tantric Lover by Shiva is really good friend of us here. And he's an amazing man. Please go and learn from him. And after that, we will be back here with Gil Petersil and Soul to Soul Networking.
So back here, live, and just under 90 minutes. So we'll see you guys then. Go enjoy the workshops and have a beautiful time. Thank you very much, everybody. Woo!